Hmm. Everybody get in here. Hurricane news. Thanks for the one like. Um, wow. Right when I went off the air, what, 2 hours ago, I said we were in good shape. The dust is coming in. Well, it's coming in ahead of the storm. Uh, I don't know how to say this. This weather is like Edward Snowden said this was going to happen. He was right. Get ready for sneaky storms like Hurricane Harvey this year. They're going to try to sneak them on in on us. Guys, just get your guns ready. Seriously, don't sit here and poke around and thinking that this is going to be a calm series or a calm hurricane season, because I really don't think so. But this is the reports coming out of Weather Hub. Check this out. And yeah, we got about 3 videos of his, and then we'll go on to the next news. Sorry.
Hello everyone, you have breaking news on Weather Hub TV. It is a new disturbance in the Atlantic Ocean. It does not have a 10% chance, no it doesn't. It has a 20% chance of formation. 5 days, 20%, 48 hours, 10%. So this is the new disturbance I was talking about yesterday, which wasn't a disturbance yet, but you know, I'm always on top of the models and stuff. You know, I have to keep an eye on the models all the time. I check them every hour, every 6 hours. You guys might think I'm crazy, but I just do the best, alright? I just checked the models, and indeed, it just became a disturbance. Like, the day after I talked about it, it just became a disturbance. So, you know, an area of disturbed weather is located about midway between Africa and the Lesser Antilles. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for some gradual development while the system moves slowly west over the next few days. They give hints to how I know they're probably going to increase the chances. When they say gradual, that means they're probably going to increase the chances of development, like maybe to a medium or even a high chance. It's just if it works out, you know, but that means they're most likely going to increase the chances for the system. It's going to have an entire 5 days to develop until wind shear just destroys it apart. So it's going to be really similar to a barrel. So, yeah, that's what I was talking about. I believe I said in my video it was really similar to a barrel and stuff. Like in terms of it's going to be a small system and we're forming low latitude MDR. So, yes, this might be barrel 2.0. So, yeah, this is Will Up TV. I'm fortunate I can't show you the models because the tropical tidbits isn't working right now. But anyway, guys, share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and peace out.
Well, I'm not done. Just hold your moment. I got some more.
Hello everyone, this is Will Up TV breaking news. Invest 98L has a 60% chance of formation. I mean, they did not update this at 8 p.m., but they literally updated this about 15 minutes ago. With a special advisory they usually have sometimes if a system's like organizing pretty quickly and stuff. But indeed, it's expected to become a subtropical depression or subtropical storm or Ernesto. So, you know, this might be our 5th named storm of the year. Let's just read this, like at least some of it. Satellite imagery indicates that shower and thunderstorm activity has increased with this low pressure system, basically. So, you know, it's about 800 miles southeast of Cape Race, Newfoundland. Has also become very organized. That's something I did notice in tropical tidbits satellite imagery, that it was getting more convection around the center, and there's definitely a center around it. Like, remember the 8 p.m. advisory? There was like saying that it was not a well-defined center, but that's completely changed the last 2 or 3 hours. So, you know, it's expected to be conducive for some additional development. So most likely it's going to become a depression, subtropical depression or subtropical storm. I mean, I predicted it was going to be between 35 to 45 mile per hour winds, but most of the models think it will develop. So, you know, and it's not just going to be below like 40 mile per hour system. Most models think it'll be like 50 mile per hour winds. So, yeah, maybe our Ernesto could be stronger than expected showing in the models. But anyway, 60%, even though it's like medium chance, most likely it will develop. At 2 a.m., if it hasn't formed, probably they'll boost it up to a high chance. So, you know, now let's talk about the Pacific Ocean. There's a new depression out there. It was a high chance, it was expected to happen, but you notice the current uncertainty, it just goes north on Sunday. I mean, most models think it would just go south of Hawaii, so maybe the next name in the Pacific would be Lane. So, maybe Lane could put a threat to Hawaii like Hector did. I mean, certainly he's not going to be as strong as Hector, most likely the models. But the thing that caught me off guard is that the GFS model has 14E, which is probably going to be Hurricane Lane, that it will go north of the islands and then make a landfall like in Honolulu or something, I mean, obviously there's that air after 5 days, which most likely it's an air, maybe it will drift southward, like most models think, intensity models and stuff think, those global models. And here are the wind probabilities. As you see, Hawaii is in there. Hawaii don't get scared yet. Maybe the track will change, but as of right now, it looks like it's going to be intensified pretty quickly. In 5 days, it's expected to be 105-mile-per-hour winds, but it could be stronger. I mean, maybe it could become a major hurricane. You never know. I mean, maybe this will be a fourth major hurricane in the Pacific. But everyone, this is my tropical update for today. I'll have another one. Maybe if it develops somehow 2 a.m. Eastern, maybe I'll have an update. But only if it develops. If it has a 70% chance, most likely not. But anyway, subscribe to my YouTube channel and peace out.
All right, good night. Love you.
Hello everyone, this is What Up TV. This is kind of strange. I don't do these videos anymore. I used to do this when I used to do forecasts on Alberto and stuff. I don't do this anymore, but we have really serious news, everyone. No one is talking about it, but look at that. 99L. All models think it'll become a hurricane in the Atlantic. Look, all Gem model thinks it'll be a Cat 3 hurricane. So whatever this becomes, it's going to be something serious. I'm surprised not even the GFS model show this, but here's the key word, 0Z. 0Z. This is a 0Z model run. This is not 18Z. So maybe you expect a drastic change in the 0Z model, which comes out in 3 hours from now. So if that actually happens, then we're talking about maybe a major hurricane with this. It has lots of convection with it. 25 knots, which 30-mile-per-hour winds, 1,013 millibars. This is kind of concerning, everyone. I'm surprised none of the models think it'll develop into anything. This is kind of concerning because, if all intensity models think it'll become almost a Category 3 hurricane, then obviously it's going to develop. So maybe they do an increase in chances and stuff. Tell everyone about this. Share this video to David, and you'll see that's actually true. So everyone subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this video. And peace out.
So this is what I'm going to tell you before I go to Mr. MBBBB. This is set up to go just like Hurricane Harvey of last year. It's going to hit Mexico. It's actually coming from Puerto Rico, folks. And I'm going to tell you right now, its sustained winds is already up to 50 miles per hour, folks. By tomorrow, by lunch, we may have a hurricane on our hands already. And it's showing heading toward Texas, folks. The same area that I was concerned about, Port Harbor, Texas, where the Harvey came through, guys. Get ready. Anybody that's in Texas, get ready. Martial law is already getting set up. I've already heard that the military vehicles and everything and UN trucks are heading toward Texas. So, and they're already there. I think they're inside the Kellogg's Cornflakes, Texas warehouse. So, we're not done. BP, wait a minute. No, that's not me. That's it, I think. Hold on. Keep on going. But, yeah. It's getting ugly. Police activity. No, that's not. We're going to that tomorrow. Where did he go? Really? How did that happen? I really appreciate everything you're doing, Melody. Holy crap. You're really working your rear end off. And if you did not know, them two used to help each other with the Nexus. That's Justin Gabriel and Darren. Let's see here. More news. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're going to this. Crying out loud. That's about time. Breaking news. Has the Queen declared war? Oh boy. I've been hearing about this and I didn't know if it was true. On America? Question mark.
The wireless world of Sprint. And I've learned Sprint is building America's mobile 5G network.
Investors,
inventors, everything's happening at the same time, folks. Enjoy. Good grief. This is James.
Worldwide election rigging by the Queen's Privy Council, computer voter fraud, to vote fraud or not to vote fraud, corruption, Lord Mark Moloch Brown, the globalist racketeer kingpin running the Queen's Privy Council with George Soros. He rigs elections from Venezuela to Estonia. He rigs electronic voting machines owned by him, George Soros and Mitt Romney. He controls the Senior Executive Service, or the SES. He steals trillions of dollars from investors, inventors, Main Street, and a rigged global stock market. His slogan should be, "Make America British Again." Meet the Queen's Privy Council. Racketeering...
Hold on. You know what? I'm glad you told me that, James, because I haven't had to waste my gas voting anymore in the last 10 years. Actually 20. Because I knew all the votes didn't count anyways. Y'all just wasted your time, but y'all keep on doing that, guys. Y'all doing a great job. Y'all can waste the gas for me.
Kingpin, Lord Mark Moloch Brown.
By the way, Kevin Thorne from ECW, the new breed that I created, versus Dash Wilder. Enjoy.
Moloch Brown. Figure 1. Lord Mark Moloch Brown, age 64, meet the man who directs the Queen's Privy Council's one world government takeover of America. Most accurate one available to our knowledge. Warning, we have uncovered more than 3,400 relationships that Lord Mark Moloch Brown has failed to disclose to the public in any securities and ethics disclosures. Here is the raw Excel spreadsheet. Let's check that out.
Interesting. I'm liking this. Everything that I predicted is happening. Nobody wanted to listen to me. Starting to listen now.
25 million years ago.
Starting to listen now.
Alright, so what do we have here?
Oh, we have a lot there.
University of Michigan, The Economist, International Crisis Group, Sawyer Miller Law Group, Gonzalo Sanchez de Larazo or whatever, Refugees International, Washington, D.C., George Soros, Soros Advisory Committee on Bosnia, World Bank, External Affairs, United Nations Affairs, George Soros, Upstate New York Estate.
So you're telling me Obama and George Soros hacked the elections like I predicted? Damn, I bet you this video is going to come on out. I bet you they're going to start sharing this video. Bloom, 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 bloom. I was right, didn't I? Told you, bloom, bloom, bloom. I told you, George Soros and Obama and Trump was together. Bloom, 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 bloom. Come on, make your car dance now. Make your car dance now, boys. Come on. Hey, NASCAR online drivers, you're going to kneel down to me. I am the king of kings. I am the game, and you don't want to play me.
United Nations, Tax Reform, London, International Model, United Nations, UN Millennium Summit, Soros, Moloch, Brown, UN speech, Hugo Chavez, the whole 9 yards, United Nations, Time Magazine, Leaders and Revolutionaries, Center for Global Development, European Advisory Group, United Nations New York Conference, Open Society Foundation, George Soros, The Observer, Yale Center for the Study of Globalization, Quantum Fund, George Soros,
Soros Fund Management, UK Government, Prime Minister Gordon Brown, Order of St. Michael and St. George, Queen's Privy Council, House of Lords, World Economic Forum, Global Agenda Council on Global Governance, Business and Sustainable Development Commission, Global Redesign Initiative, Institute for Global Law and Policy, Harvard Law School, St. Leonard's Partners Limited, UK, Vitol, Swiss Oil Company, Southwest Energy in Ethiopia, Global Affairs, FTI Consulting, Global Affairs, The Guardian Global Development Advisory Panel, Kurdigan Capital, at least 22 subsidiaries, Thomson Reuters Foundation's share company, Reuters Group, PIC owns 83.3% of an Instant Group, FileLD, Shell Foundation, I Squared Capital Advisors, Cayman Islands, Hong Kong, London, Singapore, Houston, New Delhi, associated with Envas Capital, T Solar Group, aka Grupa T Solar, subsidiary of I Squared, CPLAT, Petroleum Development Company, InvestPic, formerly InvestTech Group, formerly InvestTech Limited, InvestTech Bank, SGO Corporation Limited, Startmatic or whatever, Smartmatic, SF Shell Foundation.
By the way, Lindsay, thank you for sharing. You know who I'm talking about. From Minnesota, Minneapolis, Brock Lesnar's home. I think you're feeling the pain here, George Soros. I'm going to say this one more time, since you can't hear me. George Soros and Obama hacked the elections to divide this country some more. And I believe I was right, black and white and Hispanic. The race war. If this all comes out, Obama is going to get shot in the face. By who? The real Wolverines.
Nation, Swiss Re, Eurasia Group, LADOL Free Zone, Deep Offshore, United Nations Association, Royal African Society, Save the Children International. Ooh. Save the Children International. Children's Investment Foundation. He's the director of these children's groups, Save the Children International and Children's Investment Foundation. Whole bunch of stuff. Let's kick back to over here. The kindest thing we can say about Queen's Privy Council Kingpin Lord Mark Moloch Brown is that he's certainly one of a kind. It has taken an entire group of researchers over a month just to gather the facts about him. These facts are scattered across the internet in many dozens of biographies and an evident strategy to confuse people about his background. No two are alike. These convoluted biographies are telling for a man with literally trillions of dollars at his fingertips, meaning he can buy national elections anywhere on the planet, but he cannot seem to write his resume. All right. Note, such biographies are an early clue of a corruptocrat who is hiding his secret activity. New previously undisclosed associations were uncovered during this research. For example, Moloch Brown has never disclosed anywhere his advisory role in the Institute for Global Law and Policy at Harvard Law School. Harvard's Law IGLP advised Hillary Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, and their new Economic Council Director, Larry Summers, 9/11, on distribution of the 2008 bank bailouts funds. Literally tens of billions of these U.S. taxpayer dollars flowed into Moloch Brown's Privy Council entities via his co-conspirators at HSBC, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Lloyds Bank, Barclays, Deutsche, Swiss, UBS, State Street, just to name a few. It should be remembered that FBI Director James Comey was chief counsel at HSBC and Lockheed Martin before Obama appointed him as FBI Director. Lockheed and Serco run AWE Management Limited, Britain's atomic weapons establishment. AWE is controlled by a Queen's Golden Share. His predecessor and mentor, FBI Director Robert Mueller III's firm, Wilmer Hale LLP, had most of these companies as clients.
Breaking news. We just had a earthquake hit south of Anaheim. A 4.4 on the Richter scale. It was about 5 minutes ago. So we've had over 2,000 earthquakes in the last 10 hours, folks. That is crazy. That is crazy, and it's 9:37 now. So everyone, shit is hitting the fan in the West.
These same people or organizations are aligned with anti-American republic sovereignty, constitutional relativism, pro-socialism, anti-Brexit, anti-Trump, pro-EU, anti-Russia, pro-China, pro-Islamofascism, pro-eugenics, pro-Antifa, pro-SPLC, open border, censorship, via fact.
He just called out everybody that I said was together. Antifa, Trump, Soros, Obama. All the rich people are together, folks. But the rich people are paying Antifas, the college students. I don't even call them, I call them nerds. And like the Bullet Club would call them nerds.
Checking, shadow banning, net neutrality, and anti-free speech agendas. Not surprisingly, these are Moloch Brown's globalist agendas. Evil men rig our elections. This excellent interview discusses the contents on this post. We suggest you listen as you read this post clear to the end. Video, American Intelligence Media, Americans for Innovation, Leader Technologies. Moloch, and then we got Soros. Lord Mark Moloch Brown. The 9 Yards. Biography and timeline. I'll leave the link. Moloch Brown makes mafia dons look like choir boys. Now that Moloch's relationships are gathered in one place, see biography timeline above, he makes mafia dons look like choir boys. The evidence of his depraved global corruption is unmistakable. Under the color and protection of the Queen's Privy Council, Moloch Brown directs vast empires of banks, multinational corporations, and NGOs, which are non-governmental agencies. These organizations are peopled with bankers, accountants, attorneys, hedge funds, film and TV producers, advisors, PR specialists, social media drones, radio and newspaper executives, politicians, corporate officials in a Gordian knot of inner relationships. Hundreds, if not thousands, of United States public and private officials participate in Moloch's dark web. Those officials include such notables as Larry Summers, World Bank, IMF, Square, 2008 bailout, more. Sheryl Sandberg, World Bank, Treasury, Facebook. Frank Gusciera, Clinton Gusciera Enterprise Partnership, Bill and Melinda Gates, Eugenics Foundation, Quantum Fund, and Open Society Foundations, George Soros. They hide behind the Queen's cover. Hiding behind the Queen's brand, their goal is a one-world government, administered by an unelected EU bureaucrats and directed by the Privy Council. It is also clear that the United States is to be their primary source for weaponized inventions, a killer 5G satellite population reduction plan through the IBM Internet of Things, combined with killer pharmaceuticals and a global police force. As case in point right now, today...
What did I tell you? They're going to legalize drugs, pharmaceutical, and now they're going to kill you with them. What did I tell y'all, folks? I think I told y'all that, 3 or 4 years ago? I knew the plan in 2006 about that. The CEO of Walmart in Trustful said that.
British Privy Council directed Serco Company runs the U.S. Patent Office, FEMA Region 9, which is Arizona, California, Hawaii, Nevada, and Pacific Islands. 63 U.S. FAA air traffic control towers and the Obamacare website. They also help manage the U.S. Department of Defense's Space Wars program. Besides the obvious betrayal of sovereignty by deep state shadow government senior executive service officials who have orchestrated this, this is evidence that Moloch's Privy Council plans are much further along than one can possibly imagine. We are in the red zone. The red alert is on, folks.
Yes, it is.
Red flags all over the place. The Queen's Privy Council, really? The mind control message to British citizens has always been that the Queen is their mother. Most believe she's a figurehead with no real power. This is dead wrong. When British industries privatized in the 70s, the propaganda was that private investors would be allowed to democratize company holdings. What actually happened was that while investors were allowed to buy shares, the real control of these industries merely shifted from overt to covert control by the Crown through the Queen's golden share. This golden share gave the Crown, or more specifically the Queen's advisors on her Privy Council, veto power over operations. This allowed the Privy Council to drive markets up and down at will while being protected from liability for illegal activity by the Queen and her Queen's court. Our research has proven that the British Crown has never really stopped ruling America after 1776. They merely shifted priorities from trying to dominate America militarily to dominating America through banking, commerce, and finances. When you think about it, it makes sense. When the British Army was defeated and sailed home, Americans woke up the next day and carried on with their lives, commerce, and trade. They continued to pay on their loans to British banks and continued to trade with the British. They continued to discourse with relatives, friends, and loved ones back in Britain. Since little changed economically after 1776, the British banks moved in and are still here today. If you doubt, investigate who controls the United States Federal Reserve. If it's not federal, then there's nothing in reserve. As its heart of the Fed is controlled by an unpaid Woodrow Wilson debt obligation to the Rothschilds family. The Rothschilds control the Bank of England, hold multiple honors, and are members of the Queen's Privy Council. I think they also own Israel. Centralized power always turns evil. A major reason American patriots rebelled against the British monarchy was its abuse of power. The colonies were being oppressed by high taxes, abuses of property and privacy, no representation, triggered courts, and a proliferate aristocracy. The same dynamic exists in the Queen's Privy Council. As Queen Elizabeth has grown older, her privy councillors have grown more bold in their abuse of power, it appears. Any checks and balances that may have been there during her younger years appears to be gone. Her councillors are now using this unchecked power to attempt to take over the world. Literally. That's what I said. I said it seems like they have declared war on the U.S. To accomplish this, the Queen's Privy Councillors appear to have hidden behind her brand. The very slowly and deliberately devolved power from the Privy Council to transnational corporations that they own through secret inter-networked banks, lawyers, accountants, money launderers, drug traffickers, and rogue spies aligned with unelected UN bureaucracy that they control. The Privy Council exploits the Queen's golden share to hedge stocks at will. Think about it, it makes perfect evil sense. As a Privy Councillor, you can use the power of the Queen's golden shares in major industries to drive markets up and down based solely on what you say in a board of directors meeting. Prior to doing that, you have tipped off your co-conspirators like George Soros when to buy and when to sell stocks in that industry. Thus, you and your co-conspirators make money when the stock goes up or goes down based on your exclusive insider trading tips. In fact, the Queen's company might actually lose money on some transactions, but you don't care since Soros' hedge fund, your bunk buddy, will have profited from whomever you spooked to buy high or sell low. Your piece of the action will then appear magically in one of your many offshore bank accounts. But this power has also plunged the depths of depravity. Just imagine you are recruited into a secret club of globalists who are able to make their own legal and financial rules. You can do what you want, even if it is immoral. Instead of engaging in the marketplace of ideas, you hold a different set of tools to gain the advantage. Blackmail, pedophilia, extortion, racketeering, counterfeiting, lying, false flags, confidence tricks, property theft, regulatory abuse, human trafficking, genocide, abortion, contractor murder, organ harvesting, mass pharmaceutical poisoning, virus-laced vaccines, insider trading, euthanasia, 5G killer Wi-Fi, wars, and rumors of wars. This has been James from the Research Revolution. I'm out of here.
Wow. He is on fire. So am I. I think we're on the same team. Thank you, James. Appreciate that. All right. We're going to the next one. What is the next one? Oh, this one. Here we go, folks. Enjoy. Anonymous speaks the truth about World War III. We are anonymous. Expect us.
Contrary to popular belief, the conduct of nations on the international stage is almost never driven by moral considerations, but rather by a shadowy cocktail of money and geopolitics. As such, when you see the mouthpieces of the ruling class begin to demonize a foreign country, the first question in your mind should always be what is actually at stake here. For some time now, Russia, China, Iran, and Syria have been in the crosshairs. Once you understand why, the events unfolding in the world right now will make much more sense. The US dollar is a unique currency. In fact, its current design and its relationship to geopolitics is unlike any other in history, though it has been the world reserve currency since 1944. This is not what makes it unique. Many currencies have held the reserve status off and on over the centuries, but what makes the dollar unique is the fact that since the early 1970s it has been, with a few notable exceptions, the only currency used to buy and sell oil on the global market. Prior to 1971, the US dollar was bound to gold standard, at least officially, according to the IMF. By 1966, foreign central banks held $14 billion. However, the United States had only $3.2 billion in gold allocated to cover foreign holdings. Translation: the Federal Reserve was printing more money than it could actually back. There was rampant inflation and a general flight from the dollar. In 1971, in what later came to be called the Nixon shock, President Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard completely. At this point, the dollar became a pure debt-based currency. With debt-based currencies, money is literally loaned into existence. Approximately 70% of the money in circulation is created by ordinary banks, which are allowed to loan out more than they actually have in their accounts. The rest is created by the Federal Reserve, which loans money that they don't have, mostly to the government. It's kind of like writing hot checks, except it's legal for banks. This practice, which is referred to as fractional reserve banking, is supposedly regulated by the Federal Reserve, an institution which just happens to be owned and controlled by a conglomerate of banks, and no agency or branch of government regulates the Federal Reserve. Now, to make things even more interesting, these fractional reserve loans have interest attached, but the money to pay that interest doesn't exist in the system. As a result, there is always more total debt than there is money in circulation, and in order to stay afloat, the economy must grow perpetually. This is obviously not sustainable. Now you might be wondering how the dollar has maintained such a dominant position on the world stage for over 40 years if it's really little more than an elaborate Ponzi scheme. Well, this is where the dollar meets geopolitics. In 1973, under the shadow of the artificial OPEC oil crisis, the Nixon administration began secret negotiations with the government of Saudi Arabia to establish what
Journey Ed is the go-to tech store for thousands of schools nationwide. Schools are challenged with making their technology
came to be referred to as the petrodollar recycling system. Under the arrangement, the Saudis would only sell their oil in US dollars, and would invest a majority of their excess oil profits into US banks and capital markets. The IMF would then use this money to facilitate loans to oil importers who were having difficulties covering the increase in oil prices. The payments and interest on these loans would of course be denominated in US dollars. This agreement was formalized in the US-Saudi Arabian Joint Commission on Economic Cooperation, put together by Nixon's Secretary of State Henry Kissinger in 1974. Another document released by the Congressional Research Service reveals that these negotiations had an edge to them, as US officials were openly discussing the feasibility of seizing oil fields in Saudi Arabia militarily. The system was expanded to include the rest of OPEC by 1975. Though presented as a buffer to the recessionary effects of rising oil prices, this arrangement had a hidden side effect. It removed the traditional restraints on US monetary policy. The Federal Reserve was now free to increase the money supply at will. The ever-increasing demand for oil would prevent a flight from the dollar, while distributing the inflationary consequences across the entire planet. The dollar went from being a gold-backed currency to an oil-backed currency. It also became America's primary export. Did you ever wonder how the U.S. economy has been able to stay afloat while running multi-billion-dollar trade deficits for decades? Did you ever wonder how it is that the U.S. holds such a disproportionate amount of the world's wealth when 70% of the U.S. economy is consumer-based? In the modern era, fossil fuels make the world go round. They have become integrated into every aspect of civilization: agriculture, transportation, plastics, heating, defense and medicine, and demand just keeps growing and growing. As long as the world needs oil, and as long as oil is only sold in US dollars, there will be a demand for dollars, and that demand is what gives the dollar its value. For the United States, this is a great deal. Dollars go out, either as paper or digits in a computer system, and real tangible products and services come in. However, for the rest of the world, it's a very sneaky form of exploitation. Having global trade predominantly in dollars also provides Washington with a powerful financial weapon through sanctions. This is due to the fact that most large-scale dollar transactions are forced to pass through the U.S. This petrodollar system stood challenged until September of 2000, when Saddam Hussein announced his decision to switch Iraq's oil sales off of the dollar to euros. This was a direct attack on the dollar, and easily the most important geopolitical event of the year. But only one article in the Western media even mentioned it. In the same month that Saddam announced he was moving away from the dollar, an organization organization called the Project for a New American Century, of which Dick Cheney just happened to be a member, released a document entitled Rebuilding America's Defenses Strategy, Forces and Resources for a New Century. This document called for massive increases in U.S. military spending and a much more aggressive foreign policy in order to expand U.S. dominance worldwide. However, the document lamented that achieving these goals would take many years, absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. 1 year later they got it. Writing the emotional reaction to 9/11. The Bush administration was able to invade Afghanistan and Iraq and pass the Patriot Act all without any significant resistance. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and this wasn't a question of bad intelligence. This was a cold calculated lie, and the decision to invade was made in full knowledge of the disaster which would follow. They knew exactly what was going to happen, but in 2003, they did it anyway. Once Iraqi oil fields were under U.S. control, oil sales were immediately switched back to the dollar. Mission accomplished.
So today I'm going to ask you what it is you want to be when you grow up.
No mass destruction here.
I want to be a fireman.
Accomplished. Soon after the invasion of Iraq, the Bush administration attempted to extend these wars to Iran. Supposedly, the Iranian government was working to build a nuclear weapon. After the Iraq fiasco, Washington's credibility was severely damaged. As a result, they were unable to muster international or domestic support for an intervention. Their efforts were further sabotaged by elements within the CIA and Mossad who came forward to state that Iran had not even made the decision to develop nuclear weapons, much less begin an attempt. However, the demonization campaign against Iran continued even into the Obama administration. Why? Well, might it have something to do with the fact that since 2004 Iran has been in the process of organizing an independent oil bourse. They were building their own oil market, and it wasn't going to be tied to the dollar. The first shipments of oil were sold through this market in July of 2011. Unable to get the war that they wanted, the US used the UN to impose sanctions against Iran. The goal of the sanctions was to topple the Iranian regime. While this did inflict damage on the Iranian economy, the measures failed to destabilize the country. This was due in large part to Russia's assistance in bypassing US banking restrictions. In February of 2009, Muammar Gaddafi was named chairman of the African Union. He immediately proposed the formation of a unified state with a single currency. It was the nature of that proposed currency that got him killed. In March of 2009, the African Union released a document entitled Towards a Single African Currency. Pages 106 and 107 of that document specifically discuss the benefits and technicalities of running the African Central Bank under a gold standard. On page 94, it explicitly states that the key to the success of the African Monetary Union would be the eventual linking of a single African currency to the most monetary of all commodities, gold. Note that the page number is different on other versions of the document that they released. In 2011, the CIA moved into Libya and began backing militant groups in their campaign to topple Gaddafi, and the US and NATO pushed through and stretched a UN no-fly zone resolution to tip the balance with airstrikes. The presence of Al-Qaeda extremists among these rebel fighters was swept under the rug. Libya, like Iran and Iraq, had committed the unforgivable crime of challenge.
That's cool. It's almost over. 3 more matches left, and then the move is on. I won't be coming on until late tomorrow, so I'm trying to get all I can done today.
The US dollar. The NATO intervention in Libya segued into a covert war on Syria. The armories of the Libyan government were looted and the weapons were shipped via Turkey to Syrian rebels groups working to topple Assad. It was already clear at this point that many of these fighters had ties to terror.
Probably getting ready to die if they're not fighting back. That's the way I look at it. Because if you haven't heard, I said right when I left off air on the trucks, we had dust in the system, but it's pushing another hurricane past the dust. But seriously, we got a hurricane coming. If you're near Texas, it's going to be like Hurricane Harvey. It's going to come across Mexico, and then in Texas, it's going to be 1% of a hurricane tomorrow around 12. So That's the last thing I found. I was shocked. I'm not getting my notifications. I'm not getting anything. I'm just having to do this off the fly. So it's not my fault. It's the internet's fault. They don't know how to do anything right. Well, I mean, Charlotte, I'm going to be honest with you. Let them know they've already got UN trucks ready to go from the Kellogg's Cornflakes warehouse. So it's shitty, man. It's shitty. All I got to say is we're getting shit on, and we got to fight back. They want to take us out so the robots can take over.
Terrorist organizations. However, the U.S. national security apparatus viewed this as a necessary evil. In fact, the Council on Foreign Relations published an article in 2012 stating
Kellogg's Cornflakes at Texas. Thank you, Houston.
that the influence of Haddies brings discipline, religious fervor, battle experience from Iraq, funding from Sunni sympathizers in the Gulf, and most importantly, deadly results. In short, the FSA needs Al-Qaeda now. Let's be clear here, the US put ISIS in power. In 2013, these same Al-Qaeda-linked Syrian rebels launched 2 sarin gas attacks. This was an attempt to frame a muster international support for military intervention. Fortunately, they were exposed.
Well, let him know. I'm telling you, we are about to have some hellacious hurricanes. They're trying to get category 6 to 7 hurricanes this year. And Hurricane Lane is heading toward Honolulu, Hawaii. This one's going to be Hurricane Florence. Good grief. We're already in the F's and the H's. I mean the L's. That is crazy. And then that big earthquake today in Alaska, they moved it up. It's a 7.0. They're lying on the news, man.
By UN and Russian investigators, and the push for airstrikes completely fell apart when Russia stepped in to broker a diplomatic solution. The campaign for regime change in Syria, as in Libya, has been presented in terms of human rights. Obviously, this isn't the real motive. In 2009, Qatar put forth a proposal to run a natural gas pipeline through Syria and Turkey to Europe. Assad, however, rejected this. And in 2011 he forged a pact with Iraq and Iran to run a pipeline eastward, cutting Qatar and Saudi Arabia out of the loop completely. Not surprisingly, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Turkey have been the most aggressive regional players in the push to topple the Syrian government. But why would this pipeline dispute put Syria in Washington's crosshairs? 3 reasons. 1. This pipeline arrangement would significantly strengthen Iran's position, allowing them to export to European markets without having to pass through any of Washington's allies. This obviously reduces the US government's leverage. 2. Syria is Iran's closest ally.
Look, they're planning to get your guns during the hurricanes, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, the catastrophes, the fires. Oh, by the way, if you haven't heard my last report and you didn't see all my stories, you need to go back and look at them. 200,000 UN troops deployed to California. They're coming to get their guns there too. You're being surrounded, folks. You're being surrounded in a quiet way. And I try to warn y'all. I don't know. All I can say is I warned you and I told you so. And I told you to get gas, I told you to get food, I told you to get water. When this earthquake happens, it's going to be a gridlock, folks. After this earthquake, they're going to hit the EMP on us. So, all I got to say is I told y'all from June 19th to August 28th, the worst earthquakes, the worst volcanoes. By the way, Tonga just erupted as a volcano. So, shit's hitting the fan, folks. Shit's hitting the fan. I don't know how to explain it. And I seen Wormwood this week. I got pictures on my Facebook if you want to go look at them. Go look at them. And I even put one on the thumbnail on one of my videos. So it's here. That's all I got to say. It's here. It's in our solar system. And it's really wreaking havoc. And our planets are going to line up for at least 4 more weeks. And shit. If you don't remember the movie 2012. the planets lined up in that movie. So just giving you heads up, it's hitting the fan, left and right. What now? I don't have a gun because of having what used to be multiple personalities. Oh well. Well, I didn't. I lost my guns either too, but I'm going shopping and I'm buying guns off the streets this week. Thanks to Rachel and her husband, she's given us $1,000 to get ammunition and guns. So that's all I got to say. Screw the government.
A lapse would inherently weaken Iran. 3. Syria and Iran have a mutual defense agreement, and a U.S. intervention in Syria could open the door to open conflict with Iran. In February of 2014, this global...
Yeah, it's gonna be a show, all right. If the guns don't get here fast enough for me, I'm gonna be doing Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone, making bear traps. I've got ideas. I'm gonna get some bear traps and yeah, smoke screens. I'm gonna take them guns out of their hands. They don't even know. I'll jump off of a fucking house on them motherfuckers, just like I did before. Yeah.
Chess game heated up in a new venue, Ukraine. The real target, however, was Russia. You see, Russia just happens to be the world's second largest oil exporter, and not only have they been a thorn in Washington's side diplomatically, but they also opened an energy bourse in 2008, with sales denominated in rubles and gold. This project had been in the works since 2006. They have also been working with China to pull off of the dollar in all of their bilateral trade. Russia has also been in the process of organizing a Eurasian Economic Union, which includes plans to adopt common currency unit, and which is slated to have its own independent energy market. Ukraine had been presented with a...
What now? Well, you can pray for me, real 5 bad knees, but trusting the trusting the Lord. Yeah, I trust him too, but I'm fighting for the kids. Sorry, I'm fighting for these kids. I don't care what anybody else is doing. They're not going to have sex with our kids. That's their plan. They're not going to do it. They're not going to have sex with the women either. The Marines militia is going to bust their ass. We're Tony Stewart and they're Joey Logano. That's all I got to say. I'm just telling you. Y'all can say that God's going to come back and everything, but I'll tell you this right now. He ain't came back yet because the CERN hasn't opened up the portal. Okay? Just thought y'all might want to know that. Just want you to know that right now. Portal is not going to open up until they get the power for CERN. CERN hasn't opened nothing up yet, folks. Not even the depths of hell. All they're doing is getting ready for the robots. The robots first, folks. And y'all can call them aliens. I'll call them robots because they're nuts and bolts and, looks like Terminator out of a fucking movie. And, yeah, let's enjoy. Just enjoy.
Choice. Either join the EU under an association agreement or join the Eurasian Union. The EU insisted that this was an either-or proposition. Ukraine couldn't join both. Russia, on the other hand, asserted that joining both posed no issue. President Yanukovych decided to go with Russia. In response, the U.S. national security apparatus did what it does best. They toppled Yanukovych and installed a puppet government. Though this all seemed to be going well at first, the U.S. quickly lost.
Go look at the pictures that I made last night of Donald Trump and Obama. You take your sunglasses off, and you see something normal. You put the sunglasses on, what do you see? Robots, and that's what we're seeing right now. Just like the movie They Live, and that's why I've got that thing on the screen or on the thumbnail with They Live and So Do We. That's all I got to say. They want to fight. They want to try to steal our life because we've been busting our rear end with their stupid ass partying with the taxes. Not happening no more, Jack. And I'm the only one that's going to fight, I guess. That's all I got to say. They want to have sex with our kids and party and eat pizza and hot dogs with kids and everything while we're paying our taxes to this garbage. I'm done. They're dead. That's all I got to say.
Lost control of the situation. Crimea held a referendum and the people voted secede from Ukraine and reunify with Russia. The transition was orderly and peaceful. No one was killed. Yet the West immediately framed the entire event as an act of Russian aggression, and this became the go-to mantra from that point on. Crimea is important geostrategically because of its position in the Black Sea, which allows for the projection of naval power into the Mediterranean. It has also been Russian territory for most of recent history. The US has been pushing for Ukraine's inclusion into NATO for years now. Such a move would place US forces right on Russia.
See, it's funny. I used to be Paul Revere in a play. I was an actor, okay? And I act as Paul Revere. And it looks like I'm going to have to scream it again. The British are coming. The British are coming.
Russia's border and could have potentially resulted in Russia losing their naval base in Crimea. This is why Russia immediately accepted the results of the Crimean referendum and quickly consolidated the territory. Meanwhile, in eastern Ukraine, two regions declared independence from Kiev and held referendums of their own, the results of which overwhelmingly favored self-rule. Kiev responded to this with what they referred to as anti-terrorist operations. In practice, this was...
Yeah, I was forced in it too. I promise you. I wasn't no saint. I changed my whole... I changed everything in 2014. Believe it or not. I changed everything 4 years ago, Charlotte. I used to be one of the evilest person you meet. I was an actor at Sloss Fright Furnace. I was scaring the shit out of people and carrying them to the hospital. Wasn't touching them or nothing. I just scared the shit out of them. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I've changed. But they are waking up Hurricane Andrew again. That's all I got to say. And I'm going to go 100%. I'm ready for this. You know the funny thing is, I used to be in sex, porn, no, not audience, just audience live. And I used to be a stripper and everything. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. I didn't want to do it. But what do you do when you have to survive? You know what I mean? All I got to say is they messed up. They messed up. They messed with the wrong guy. That's all I got to say. They don't understand what's coming. I'm going to be driving the gravedigger right into their fucking head. That's all I got to say. Be honest with you, if it wasn't for Katrinka, I wouldn't have got into it. She's the one that survived and helped me survive. And I met her 17 years ago, and she's the one that got me into it, believe it or not. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have probably survived. I probably would have been dead in a gutter somewhere. Should have died at least 7 or 8 times, but I'm here, and I'm giving y'all the answers and the questions, and everybody asking questions. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Go through my 500 videos. There's your proof. I mean, they're idiots if they keep on saying that stuff. Seriously. I didn't put them videos out there just to screw around. I mean, I have over 1,000 videos that I've made. 1,000. That's not including NASCAR victory that I did. I did a little bit of that there. But NASCAR 15 is when I started. NASCAR, it was 2015 is when I really started my YouTube channel right after the Orlando attacks. When Orlando attacks came up, that's when I started waking up. Well, Melody Clark has got over 96 videos of mine, and she is unbelievable. She's made a whole list of all my videos, folks. And unbelievable. She's helping me, and I really appreciate it. Amy is helping me. Ring was helping me, but he's got so much going on. He's got a wedding to go to this week. His sister's birthday is today. By the way, I know she's probably watching. Miss Bundy, happy birthday. 22, right? Might be wrong. But at least you get to live for 22. I'm surprised I'm alive. I really am. I'm here to give y'all the information because I got another chance. And I wasn't scared of guns being in my head or pointed at me. I've had guns at my head in the past, so not scared of nothing. I'm like a ticking time bomb. I said on my Facebook, if you don't like me, leave. If you don't like the truth, leave. You're the ones that will die. That's the way I look at it. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I came on here because my grandfather summoned me here. It was in World War II that fought for this country. And by the way, if any NFL players are here, let me tell you something. I know you're getting paid off by George Soros. My grandfather fought in World War II for your safety while you're playing football, which is fake. Consume, right? I made a football picture of They Live last night of Roger Goodell and the Patriots, of them looking like robots. So just remember this, NFL football players. If it wasn't for our military, you wouldn't be playing every Sunday. Capiche? You thug. Pumping your palms like you're Hitler. You know who tells you that? You know who's telling you that? You know who's doing that? Who's teaching you that? George motherfucking Soros. And I got news for you. When we get to that son of a bitch, your fucking check won't be coming from him anymore. I promise you that. You are thugs that's doing it. And guess what, Miami Dolphins? Just found this out. The police department is not going to save you anymore. You know what they're going to start doing? Putting drugs in your cars when you get pulled over, you stupid motherfucker. That's all I got to say. Colin Kaepernick, you are nothing but a seed from George Soros. I don't care. He's got the face of smashed potatoes in my mind. He's not Satan. He's not God. He's nothing. Doesn't matter how much money you got. He's an old man that can't even get it up no more, and he's having sex with kids with none other than George Soros. You got Obama, the Bushes, the Clintons, the Nixons, the JFKs, all of them. They all had sex with kids, folks. Every one of them. And they sit there and say that we're the pedophiles. I guess it all changes, don't it? I guess it all changes, don't it? Make sure when I say
The massive and indiscriminate killing campaign which killed thousands of civilians. Apparently killing civilians didn't qualify as aggression to the West. In fact, the IMF explicitly
commercials are all over the place tonight.
warned the provisional government that their $17 billion loan package could be in danger if they were not able to put down the uprising in eastern Ukraine. While the war against eastern Ukraine was raging, elections were held and Petro Poroshenko was elected president. It turns out that Poroshenko was exposed by a leaked diplomatic cable released by WikiLeaks in 2008 as having worked as a mole for the U.S. State Department since 2006. They referred to him as our Ukraine insider, and much of the cable referred to information that he was providing. A separate cable showed that the U.S. knew Poroshenko was...
Let me ask you this, Charlotte, and anybody else that's out there that's listening. Is it breaking the law when the law breaks? Let me say this one more time. Is it the law when the law breaks? Because if the law breaks, that means we can break the law. Think about that, folks. Think about that. Who ever thought that we would be fighting our own government? That we would finally have a chance to beat their ass? I'm going to tell you right now, I always had respect for the cops. I've always had respect for our military. But when that 9/11 building went down, I smelled a rat. Because guess what? I had former military telling me what was going on. They knew about it, folks. My uncle that passed away wrote down a letter telling me what the plan was and what they did for you to lose your freedom, folks. So you do what you want to do, I'm going to do what I want to do. Because if we're going to die, well, I'm going to fight dying.
Corrupt even at that point. Having a puppet in place, however, hasn't turned out to be enough to give Washington the upper hand in this crisis. What does Washington do when they have no other leverage? They impose sanctions. They demonize and pull a false flag. This isn't a very good strategy when dealing with Russia. In fact, it has already backfired. The sanctions have merely pushed Russia and China into closer cooperation and accelerated Russia's de-dollarization agenda.
Good thing you agree, because the ones that's been disagreeing and talking their shit has been getting deleted and blocked. I'm not even asking questions or talking to them anymore. They're getting blocked and kicked off. I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm not here for their asses no more. They don't want to listen, they can die. That's the way I look at it. That's what my Marines militia told me to tell all of y'all. If you don't want to fucking fight, then you're suicidal and you're an idiot and you're stupid.
And in spite of the rhetoric, this has not led to Russia being isolated. The US and NATO have put a wedge between themselves and Russia, but not between Russia and the rest of the world. This new anti-dollar axis goes deeper than economics. These countries understand what's at stake here. This is why, in the wake of the Ukrainian crisis, China has proposed a new Eurasian Security Pact which would include Russia and Iran. Consider the implications here as the Obama administration begins bombing in Syria, which also has a mutual defense agreement with Iran. This is leading us straight to World War III. The masses may not have figured it out yet, but history will remember it that way. Alliances are already solidifying and a hot war is underway on multiple fronts. If the provocations and proxy wars continue, it's only a matter of time before the big players confront each other directly, and that is a recipe for disaster. Does all of this sound insane to you? Well, you're right. The people running the world right.
Okay, first of all, when you hear Nibiru news, that's CIA operative. I thought you might want to know that. Okay? CIA's running that. I'm telling the real news, they're not. They're complete garbage. Just want you to remember that, okay? No, I'm just telling you right now. Anybody that says Nibiru is a CIA. Anybody that says Wormwood knows what's up. That's the way I look at it. Sorry. Nibiru is not even a word. It's a China word, if you want to know the truth. If you're from China.
Now are insane, and the public is sleepwalking into a tragedy. If you want to alter the course that we are on, there's only one way to do it. We have to wake up that public. Even the most powerful weapons of war are neutralized if you reach the mind of the man behind the trigger. How do we wake the masses, you asked? Don't wait for someone else to answer that for you. Get creative. Act like your children's and grandchildren's futures depend on it, because they do. We are.
He doesn't talk what now? Well, he needs to start talking about Wormwood, because Wormwood is more important than anything out there right now. Anything. Folks, this thing is bigger than the sun. It looks like a jack-o'-lantern. Y'all don't understand. I've got pictures of it. I've got it on my YouTube channel. I took pictures of it during the moon. That was it, right there beside the moon on the left side. It's here. I've been warning everybody since 2015. I've been investigating on everything. They're hiding something, folks. The ones that's hiding stuff, go right ahead. I'm going to keep on telling it. Because I keep on winning every time.
Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
We are anonymous. So you got that right. They're hacking the elections again, folks. I thought you might want to know this. This is breaking news. They're going to hack the elections for Trump to win. Not sure if it's going to be Donald Trump, Melania, or Ivanka, but there's going to be a Trump in the White House, folks. This is another thing. This is what else I'm finding out. The wall is being built, like I said. Your taxes are going to it. He said Mexico is going to build the wall. No, we are. And more weather. Oh, now BP Earthwatch is finally seeing this. Since I reported it. I reported it first, punk. Hey, BP, you're getting too old, bud. You are a CIA operative, too. He's a punk. And he is a pedophile. But you might want to know that. But, you know. See. Let's see here. What's next? Right? I believe that's it for the day. Or for the night. Yeah, I believe we're done for the night. Finally, I'm out of here. I got to go clean house. And I'm going to be really cleaning up. All I got to say is, right now, UN, China, Japan, North Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia, British, Uranus, whatever the fuck you want to be called, Russia. If you're either on our side or not on our side, you need to let us know. Because I'm telling you right now, bring it. Because now we finally made it to 20 million Marines that walked away from the pedophile government. Y'all have a nice day. Jason Aldean told me to tell you, football players, he fought for you. And he said this: you better keep on doing what you're doing, because you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, we're not even going to piss on your fire, bitch. Y'all have a nice day. Charlotte, take care. I'm out. Oh yeah, Germany too. Fuck you. What's her name? Angela Merkel? God, what a sick bitch. Brussels, right? George Soros. I'm going to enjoy beating that scrotum face asshole.